Well, hey there, my copious, colorful cockatoos. I'm sure you've been able to surmise at this point that I have a rather, sizable collection that can fill a rather spacey pelican case at this point. In fact, it's so large, and I want to show it to all of you for this 2024 period, that we're gonna have to kind of move over into a different area with more space. This desk area is kind of small, I'm sure you can tell. Anyways, let's go. Let's move out there. We're gonna go. I want to start this collection vid. It's 2024's big collection vid. Come on, let's go. Look, we're in my living room now. There's more space here than my desk. In fact, look, my hand here is touching. It's so, oh, I hit my camera. So I'm sure you can assume that I don't necessarily want to edit an hour-long recording session. So, we're gonna just do this kind of loose and sloppy, you know? I'll just bring out the knife and you'll get to see it. So, first of all, I'm sure you all remember that I have a rather extensive MachineWise collection. Let's start with that, shall we? And let's start with this guy, the 50. Focus? There we go. See? There's the 50. The oldest MachineWise thing I have in my collection currently. Delta 4s are hard to find, but I would like to get one hopefully this year, maybe, or at least eventually. Yeah, still not the best flipper, obviously, but it's surprisingly good for what it is, for how chunky it is and awkward and non-standard. It's just... Well, okay then. Point still stands. Good knife. I love it. Just not exactly the best out there, you know. Let's put you away. Oh, I bumped the camera again. So let's move on, shall we? I think that after doing the 50, the next logical step would be going to the 60. There it is. I still got it. It's technically still not mine, but you know, I have it in my possession right now, so why not? We'll add it to the collection. Thank you, Daylan Still, for letting me keep it for as long as I have. You are great. We're gonna put you right next to the 50. Alright, and next up, yeah, let's do this one. Swift TV 1. Fantastic piece. My favorite personally. I really like these things. They feel very different from the V2, which I have a V2. I'll show that in a second. But V1, love this thing. Really good. One of my favorites. Oh god, sorry, it's cold and my hands are clammy, so it's not exactly the best weather and condition for flipping in. So you'll see me draw. Oh, I think that made my point. I'm gonna drop a lot. That's just going to be a normal thing for me here. Plus, recording is hard. When flipping too, that's just not a good time. Well, anyways, you get the point. I love this thing. We're gonna put you right next to your predecessor again, even though you came out 2 knives afterwards. So, logically, we should probably finish up the 50 line with the Swift TV 2. I got one with the sunset fade inside and the blue outside. Love this thing too. Just, it's like a best of the worst situation. I still vastly prefer the V1 over the V2, and it's whatever. Oh. Well, I suck at flipping. I don't care. We're just gonna put you up, right up against you. Alright, anyways, moving on. Alright, here we go. We got Marins and Marins and Marins and Marins. We got multiple Marins here for you to feast your eyes upon, I guess. Well, let's start with this Thai Marin. My first production one, number 33. Last of the first productions. Great knife. Love it. We all know a Marin. I don't need to explain too much there. But here we got a light. This one's a little bit beat. And unfortunately, I did have to acid wash the blade because I sent it to somebody and they sent it back with a bit of rust. And that was fun. So I sent it to get acid washed to prevent further rusting, and so far it's been holding up good. And it looks fantastic for acid wash. I just wish I didn't have to do it in the first place. Oh well, let's put it right next with its sibling. Alright, so my Blade West 21 Marin Light. One of the few red ones out there that are actually officially red. This one's a legitimate one. You can see it because it says BW21 on the blade. Oh, I love it. It's It's a little bit weird because it's got a little bit of extra weight. If you can see on the blade, it's flat. There's no sharp edge here. It's just completely unsharpened from the shop. So it's got a little bit more blade weight than normal, but I still really like these. They're fun. And rare. There's only about 9 of these in existence. Wish there were more colors of them. Alright. So let's finish off the Marin line with this kind of an awkward weirdo. This is one of my regrets of the hobby. I was so desperate to get a red one. I didn't know when I was going to find one. I thought it would take a long time for me to get one. It didn't take me as long as I thought. But I got a black one. I just had it stripped and re-anodized. Well, we all have regrets in our life, don't we? And this is one of them for me. Oh well. Ooh, nice scissor. Yeah, that's one of my regrets, because otherwise I would have all the colors of the lights. And I don't, because I'm stupid. Whatever. Call me stupid. I deserve it. Anyways, why don't we move on to my V1 Prisma. It's my one and only. My very first one was a Christmas colored one with a green and red handle, but I have since sold that one and it's gone. It's not in my collection anymore. But I got this one because it's got the logo from MachineWise all across its handle. Will you focus? Thank you. There it is. There's only a few of these out there. Doesn't really change anything. It's just something cool that Dalen was trying when he first got the laser last year in 2023. And I got one of his practice pieces. So let's just put that right next to the sad light. And we can move on to a first production V2. Not a Pro, this one's a V2. This is the 6061 aluminum type. If you remember from one of my videos, I mentioned that it was released on the same day that Tears of the Kingdom was released. And that's kind of why I've kept this orange one specifically. Otherwise, I wouldn't really care much about first production versus any other one, since they're really not that different. But I like having it for the collection, and it matches the V1. But speaking of the other V2 that I have somewhere, there you are. This is my other V2 with a red and silver handle. Yeah, I have a couple of them, and I don't really use either of them. I probably should, but, well, I flip them over carpet. They just don't get beat a lot. But they're here. They exist. And they're in my collection. So, nothing too special about that one. Aside from that, I spent a lot of time begging Dalen to make that colorway. Or at least release the color so I could make that colorway. But now, let's get to the pros. This is one of my pros. I have multiple pros, again, because I wanted to do the colorway, and this was before there was the customizer from the MachineWise page. And I had to buy both the red and the silver one separately. And now I have this. And of course, to match my colors, red, black, and white, or silver. Silver works close enough. I got the blade acid washed. Why won't you focus? There it is. It's a very nice black on the blade. A lot nicer than the Dingus, at least. The Dingus has kind of washed out over time. But this is my example piece for the collection. I keep it relatively pristine. So there it goes, right next to the V2. I'll get to the Dingus in a bit. We'll get there. So while we're talking about Prismas and Prisma Pros, how about I show you the Prisma Pro Live Blade. I only just recently got this, so sorry I didn't put that in the Marin lineage video. Maybe I'll make a Prisma lineage video. That'd also be a good video, but it really wouldn't be too much. You know what? I'll just make a video on this one separately because it's cool. But if you look closely at this blade, look at that. The mill lines on the bevel are 45 degrees. I don't know how well you can see that, but they're 45 degrees going this way. There are new blades that have just been released now, just as of, I believe today is the first time that the MachineWise team has put them on the site. And now they have the similar mill lines to a Marin blade, where they go all the way across. I'll show you that in a second, because This isn't my last Prisma. Nope, not my last Prisma. I have quite a few of them. Anyways, that is the first production blade. They are technically never going to be made again. They have been redesigned because, speaking of more live Prismas, this is my Marin Light V2 slash Prisma. It's got the mill thing in the channel, so that's how you know that it's an older one. And it's got one of the light blades that are technically S35VN, so it's like the Marin Thai versions, but it's been tumbled. It's been stonewashed. You can kind of see that on the finish, that it's been stonewashed rather than just machine finish. So that's a cool thing, I guess. There's about 13 of these out there. And now, just like the original Marins, the Prisma Live blades have these, I almost forgot to show you, but it's got these parallel lines going all the way down the edge. So that's a new difference that I saw based off of the stories from MachineWise's Instagram. Anyways, this rear one's gonna go right there. Alright, what should we do next? Alright, let's do some newer stuff from MachineWise, from titanium made products. This is one of my most precious belongings in my whole collection. It's Serif number 69. Yes, 69 is not always funny to everybody, but enough people like it that there's something special about this. And also, I personally am one of those people who thinks that 69 is absolutely hilarious. I adore this thing. It's also just a Serif, so it's just good in general. So why not? Why not call it my most precious Balisong in my collection? In fact, it's so precious, I can see that the corner over there is kind of cutting off. So let's put it over here instead, where it'll be seen for everybody to just acknowledge it, I guess. Speaking of which, maybe I should rearrange some of this a bit. It's looking a little bit sparse for space here, and I feel like eventually we're gonna run out of space. I bumped my camera again. Let's get these guys closer together. Come on, we need more space. I have so many. I'm so bad at managing my finances. Oh, actually, there's enough space over there now. No, there's not. There's not. We'll leave it there. You deserve your own space. Speaking of 69 Serif, that was the OG one. This is the new Serif. The ones from the video where I talked about the old versus the new serifs and the differences of them. This is the new serif. It's also number 69. And it's just as special and deserves to be put right here. If you want more difference talk, go watch the video. I'm not going to talk about it here. So, moving on from that, it's a V2 serif, also known as the Opus. It's not a serif, it's an Opus. But they were going to be called Serif V2s at one point. Not anymore though, because now they're their own thing. Unfortunately, not a lot of people actually like them that much, so they kind of just stopped production for a while. But part of that, I think, is that also just, I think people just haven't been very open to buying expensive things this past year. A lot of people haven't been buying the expensive things. It's been quite a different market this past year, 2023, than what it's been before. So, just unfortunate timing, I think. I think they're very good. I think that they deserve more love than they got. But speaking of Opus, I have two. And it's for a reason, if you will focus. This one's got a serif pattern on it. So of course I'm gonna get one of these. It's another collectible piece for the collection. I actually really like how this feels. I wish that there were more like this, but apparently there's going to be new patterned Opus coming, so look forward to that. There's not much special there to talk about aside from that it's got a different pattern. I guess I could talk about how it was... Well, you know what? I don't want to talk about it right now. We'll talk about it later. Alright, I readjusted the camera. I know you can see the tripod. I don't care. We're gonna move on to some Benchmade stuff. Benchmade. Kind of the founders of the Balisong of the US market. Let's start with a 42. This is my 42. It is a real one. It's a first production. Let's see if we could... Will you focus? Can you focus? Can I get it to focus on this? Well, just trust me. It's a first production. It says, you can kind of make it out. It says 255 out of 500. Or 225 out of 500, sorry. It is a real one. It's a real 42. I don't have the box or papers, unfortunately. They've been kind of just lost to time. It's also scary sharp because whoever decided to redo that edge, bad idea. That kills the value. We're gonna put you there. But hey, I got one. It's a piece of history. I still regret selling my old one, but well, I got another one. So, speaking of Benchmade stuff, here's a 51. The Morpho 51. A Black Blade one. Also a pretty good knife that people, I think, give it some undue hatred. For me personally, it's one of my favorite knives. This is actually the knife that got me into collecting in the first place. You are the catalyst to my problems, and I love you, and also, it's mixed. I have some complex feelings for you, but I love it. We're gonna put you right next to the 42. And speaking of 51s, I have another one. This one's the Silver Blade. I have tape on it because I wanted to flip it. And when I was trying to flip it before, it was very sharp and it wanted to cut my finger right at the cuticle, and that was very uncomfortable for like a solid couple weeks. It did not want to heal for some reason, but it did eventually, and now I'm more careful with the 51s because I know that they are scary sharp. And also they rust, so hopefully I don't get tetanus ever from that. I have my shots, but who knows. And last on the Benchmade stuff, a 32. It's a tiny little, it's so small. It's so, oh, you can't do anything with it for the most part. Well, you can kind of twirl a ladder with it. Ooh. Can you infinity ladder? Whoa, kind of. It's not very easy, but it doesn't like to hold the momentum necessary for it, so before I end up cutting myself mid-video, we're gonna put you with the rest of your cousins. Sorry, readjusted the camera again. I found out that the lens is the issue for why it was not focusing. Well, now that I've got the focused lens going, oh no. I'm gonna scratch up my knives. Let's get a look at this again. My first production, come on, focus. There you go, you can kind of see it better. 255 of 500. My first production one. So that's cool. That's a nice piece to have for a collection, for somebody who's a collector. Like me. I'm a collector. Now let's do a weirdo, shall we? Something that's kind of related to... I'm sorry, it's blurry. Well, anyways, it's related to Benchmade in a way. It's Flytanium. They worked on making stuff for the 51s. Mods. Things to make them more standard. And I have one of their products, and it is not my favorite flipper ever. It's actually very weird, and I can't do a lot with it because, look at this. It's jimping the knife. It gets stuck on your finger, not just because of this handle either. If you look at the blade, that's a Zen cup on the blade, and it gets caught on your finger so easily. Much more easy than those, and the 51s are very good at catching on your fingers. Will you focus, camera? Please? Good enough. Well, we're gonna put you next to these then. Stay. And next on the list of one-offs that I have from companies. Hybel. Well, maker, not company. It's a Hybel Invictus. It's one of the fancy ones from Blade East 2023. Back when they were, I think that Will told me that they were $550. I think he also mentions it in the video. It's one of the fancy Invictus, one of his favorites. I have some thoughts about it. It's not my favorite. The polish is a little bit sticky on your hands or too slippery if they're sweaty, and it's got a lot of pivot weight. If you can tell, it's on tang pins. It's on tang pins, and part of that means that it has this huge ass nipple. I have a couple problems with that nipple. For one, like I said, it gives it a lot more tang and pivot weight than it should have. So it gets a little bit uncomfortable to flip sometimes. It's also a big one, so sometimes when I'm flipping, it just gets in the way. You might see it when I'm... Ugh. You can kind of see it. I don't know if you can actually tell without feeling, but my finger gets a little bit caught on that, and also when I'm doing things like rollover, sometimes I'll get my finger in, and it gets caught on the tang pin here, like this. I was talking about this with Stitch Steel about why I prefer Zen pins over Tang pins, even though in reality, Tang pins are going to last a lot longer than Zen pins. If Tang pins are 24 hours, Zen pins are 12 hours, maybe 16 hours if they're done right, and Pinsless is 1 hour. Let's go with that. They don't, well, it also depends on how that's done, but yeah, he said that it's fair that I prefer Zen pins when my fingers do that. We're gonna put you right next to the French fry knife. I feel like I'm cutting up my ottoman. I'm sorry, ottoman. I love you. Why don't we do some plastic now? Well, the 3D printed stuff, at least. This is a Flip Forge edit. It's chunky. It's very chunky, and I have some trouble flipping it, actually. Just because... Oh. It's also got a huge gap, so as you saw, I missed the catch into Z choker that I was trying to do. I mean, it's good for people who have bigger hands, but as you can see in my hand, this thing is a monster. I don't flip it much, for a reason. You're too chunky. I'm gonna put you up here. Yeah, it's getting cut off, but whatever. Now for plastic stuff that I do enjoy, calico. I'm so glad I got one of these when I could. It's hard to get one right now just because the maker, Tay, he's been a little bit on the burnt out side, and let's be honest, fair, he's kind of a one-man show for the most part, and he kind of makes these by hand. They're almost more like a piece of art than they are a balisong. Even though they're plastic, they're still interesting. They're good for plastic, they're a good flipper, you just have to get used to it a little bit, but I love this thing because it feels more close to a standard size and shape of a balisong. And also it's thinner than the edit, so I can actually flip it when I want to. Great for traveling. Nobody's threatened by this thing. I flip this in public all the time, and people just don't care. They think that it's cool when I do it. Sort of, I guess. Well, some people get curious. Some people give me weird looks because I'm being a nerd, but, you know, it's better than people being afraid. We're gonna put you next to that then. Now, speaking of some weirdos as well, because we've just kind of gone over a bunch of ones that are one-offs from companies, why don't we talk about this guy? It's an Archangel, specifically a DDR Gemini Archangel. Same style, same rights and legal stuff, but made by a different maker than Cold Steel. Ooh, that was weird. I was trying to do a techie thing and it just didn't work out. Yeah, this thing is... They're known for having some QC issues. Mine has an uneven ground flat of the blade, so... This one has bushings, and they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. They bind in places while being loose in other places. It does weird tappy things, and the balance is... Okay, then. Anyways, the balance isn't necessarily the best, so flipping it is a little bit awkward, and... yeah. That was a really weird way that it got out of my hand there, but... There's a reason I don't flip you much. You're a cool collection piece, but whatever. I got you for a really low price, actually, for Geminis. Usually they go for about 500 or more. I got it for, was it 250 or 300? It was very low for one of these, so I just thought, nah, why not? I have the cash at the moment. Let's go for that. Anyways, moving on. Let's look at some of the Squid stuff I have. Now, if you know who I am, you know I have a little bit of a gripe with Squid. But, I used to be a Squid lover. I loved Squid. I have been following Squid for a long time. After I saw, what did I see first? Squid Trainer 2? Yeah, Squid Trainer V2 is when I first found Squid, and I've just kind of been following them on and off for the past few years. I was there when the Tsunami was first announced and released, and I thought it was really cool. Well, in the past years, I've also found that they've been really bad about some things, so I've kind of gone on a little bit of a hater streak on them because... Well, here's the thing. I don't hate them necessarily. I want them to be better. I've been following them for so long, and I know they can do better, and I just want them to be better. So I'm holding them accountable on their bad stuff until they actually do something. Or at least I'm trying to. There's some things I know that will maybe make me want to not, but we'll see. Anyways, the Squid stuff. Rant over. Mako. 4.5. It's fine. I also bring this everywhere. Nobody's afraid of it because it's a shark, and People usually think it's actually kind of neat. I've never had anybody actually afraid of it. Some people look at it at first like, oh my god, is that a butterfly knife? But then they see that it's a shark and they're like, oh, that's a fun little thing. Not my favorite balance. It likes to get away from your hand too sometimes. This one... Okay, bye. Yeah, anyways, this one is, it doesn't always stay in your hand. It's known for being a little bit on the slippery side. Wow, I cannot Z-choker today. There we go. Anyways, it's known for being a little bit slippery in your hand, so not everybody really likes them. They're not the best in terms of just general flipping. They're... Okay, assault my rare stuff, why don't you? You know what, I'm over you. We're putting you over here. I think people already know about the complaints about you. Anyways, moving on from one Mako to another. 2.5. 2.5? No, it's just a V2. There was never a, oh my words. There was never a 2.5 before. This is just a 2. It's on tang pins, and they're very sharp and uncomfortable. I've actually been cut from the tang pins before on this thing. But I keep it because it's weird, and it's a little bit collectible just because there's not a lot of them out there. If you like to collect Makos, they're a little bit harder to find than some others. Maybe the V1 is harder, but, well, these exist, and they are... Did you see that? I was about to say that they are weird in some ways because there's no spacers along from here to here. So if you press down on the handle in a weird way when you're flipping, it binds, as you can see there. Yep, it's binding. You can see I'm not touching the blade. It's just how it is. They bind. That's how a sandwich is when you don't do it right. And that's why the V3 is a lot better. It's got hidden Zen pins, and it doesn't do the binding thing. I'm gonna put you over here. You're better because you have the whole channel thing going on for, well, not channel, it's the space between the slabs, but it's still got some grip issues. Not as many as the 4.5, but it's fine. They're just Makos. They're not expensive. But moving on to other older squid stuff. A 2.5 squid trainer. This is an interesting one because while it flips really good, it's a very uncomfortable knife. Do you see the Zen nipple here? That thing is huge. It's massive. Whenever I try to scissor, I get pinched by this thing. Let's see if it works out like that. Oh, well, let's see if I can actually scissor to begin with. Oh, okay, that was a bad example because I didn't get pinched that time. Let's see if I can do it in frame now. Or assault my rare stuff again. Note to self, always only scissor whenever you're actually watching the knife because scissors are not exactly a thing that you want to miss. Like, okay, that worked out, kind of. Point being, a little bit uncomfortable, but still a good flipper. It's cool. It has a little bit of a chunkiness to it, so it can be a little bit awkward to flip if you have smaller hands, like me. But I can still acknowledge that it's got a lot of merit to it. Now, moving on to more squid stuff. This was a gift to me. Kraken trainer. We call it the Jack Skellington because it's got a Halloween handle, and on the other side, a holiday one from the Christmas season. Wintry. It's Jack Skellington, and the blade is 3 of 15. I got the blade for this. My friend has the blade for this. They've got number 1 of 20 for the holiday ones. And for being the person who got them into this in the first place, they gifted me this one. The matching set to the other one. So that's cool. I can't get rid of this one. It's a Kraken trainer, so it's obviously got a little bit of awkwardness on it that everybody talks about. Blade a little bit light for the handles and stuff like that. But I keep it for sentimental reasons. And speaking of sentimental reasons and Krakens, I've got my first Kraken. This is a 2.5. I don't know why I didn't get a squid thing from earlier before, but I finally decided to get a Kraken at some point. That was 2022? Yeah, 2022 November. I got the updated Kraken V2.5. You can see on the nipple here that it's a little bit more soft and round and not terrible and pinchy like some of the older ones are. So it's a 2.5 Bowie. It was the only one that was available on the site at the time. And I thought it was about time that I get a Kraken because I've been collecting for a while. But I didn't have a Kraken still because I wasn't much of a flipper before. I didn't really bother with flipper Balisongs. I was looking for mostly oldies. I had something like I had a 42. I had an Archangel, an actual Archangel at one point. Gemini at one point, sold that, got another one. This is the new one I have. Last one was a little bit different than that one. I also had a Jaguar and a couple other random oldies. But I've recently been getting into other ones, and that's when I got this. So that has a little bit of sentimental value to me because it's right about when I started getting into flipping. That was also 2022. Like I said, I haven't been flipping for that long. It's been over a year now, but I haven't really bothered learning flipping until recently, despite collecting for so long. Why? I don't know. I just didn't bother, I guess. Now, speaking of collectible Kraken stuff, or, well, I was, but let's go back to it. Now, I have one of the more cool Krakens out there. You can't tell by sound, but look at that. When you look at it, you can tell why it's one of the cooler ones out there. It's one of the Damascus ones. There's not a lot of them out there. There's 40 in total, which is a small number for something as big as Squid. This one, specifically... Focus? 12 of 40. This is number 12 of 40. It came up for sale at some point. My friend was looking at the Balisong market as well as me, and we showed it to each other, and I was saying that I couldn't get it while he was like, oh, but you need to get it. You need to get it. And I said, I don't have the money at the moment. So then I was joking something along the lines of, what if you bought it? And then I bought it off of you later. And then he buys it and he's like, you owe me $450. And I'm just like, well, shit, I guess that's my debt owed now. And I got it. It didn't take long. I just needed I didn't have the money at that moment, but I did get it eventually, very soon afterwards. So now I have a Damascus Kraken. I don't mind getting this one because it's a secondhand one, obviously, because I was not at Blade Show 2022. Blade Show East. What's put with the other Krakens? Point being, I don't know. Kraken, I guess. They exist. Alright, we're on the last 12. Yeah, last 12. Alright, I got a couple cases here. Case 1, case 2. One's plain, one's not, because when I got it from mycasebuilder.com, they accidentally messed up the dimensions of my foam in the first one. So, they gave me a new one free. That's cool. Ooh, look at that. It holds 6. It's got 6 Balisong slots from display slot and 5 normal slots. So, let's start on the cases, shall we? Or at least the ones that I actually have them in. Most of these are on display usually, so they're not in their actual case. Where do I want to start? Let's start with a Bermuda. This is one of the 2 Bermudas that I own. This is just the one I found on eBay. So, I found it, I bought it, that's it. It's here now, and it's weird. I don't really like flipping it that much. They're heavy, awkward. I guess it's cool that they exist, but I don't like them. They're on bearings. One of the few bearing things I have, and I just do not care for them much. Let's put you down here. Alright, next up, let's do some more squid stuff, shall we? Come on, get out. I'm sure you can hear from me grabbing them. They're plastic. Okay, well, that one doesn't want to stay in my hand. Well, too bad. You're in my hand now. Squiddy B. I got this a while ago. I gave it jimping. Woo. I mean, I like it. It's good for a plastic Balisong. It's just... It's not... Oh, well... Anyways... It's fine. It's plastic. What do you expect? It's light. It's slippery. It doesn't want to stay in your hand all the time, but You can do a lot of stuff with it if you know what you're doing. I obviously don't. I'm not going to claim that I'm a good flipper, because I'm not. I'm really not. See, I just know a lot of basic stuff. Whatever. You go there. And also in the collection is a Squiddy C. It's polycarbonate, the lightest of the Squiddies. This thing is a little bit weird to flip just because of how light it is, but I like it. Oh, that was loud. Anyways, I keep it because I like how it looks. They also called it the Squiddy Jelly at some point, as in like a jellyfish. And I keep jellyfish, so I have a little bit of a connection there. I used to have one of these also way back just because I also wanted it for the sake of because jellyfish, but I don't know where it went. I lost it. Oh well. You stay there. Oh, alright. Next up is going to be a little bit of a story. Can you hear the ring? It's another Squid Trainer. It's a 3.5. I bought this as an inked red one way back when they were relatively new. They were released in 2019, late 2019. I got it on one of the earlier drops because I wanted to try learning flipping at some point. And I was like, oh, Squid, they're known for their trainers. Maybe this is good because I hear a lot of good things about the Squid Trainer. Well, lo and behold, I get a Squid Trainer and I really hated it, actually. This is not for me. I don't like how it flips. So, when I got it, I just tried a few things. I learned basically just how to do a rollover, maybe a fan, standard open and close, stuff like that. Well, chaplains came later. Actually, I didn't learn chaplains until quite a while later because why? I don't know. Why do we do anything? But I hated it so much that I put it back into a box and I didn't touch it between there and 2022 when I dug it back out and remembered that flipping existed. And then I bought that Mako. Yeah, that I forgot to mention that Mako I bought because I was like, I want a bottle opener and I like Balisongs and the Mako exists. So I got it in early 2022. And this is a lot older. Actually, you can't tell because of the handles because I did rehandle it at some point because the handles, well, one of them cracked at the pivot, the other one just it wasn't good. I guess when they put it together, they didn't put a spacer in when they put the Zen pin in, so it binded weirdly. Maybe that's why I also hate it. Maybe that's actually why. You know, we're making connections right here on video. I'm making some world-changing revelations to myself. But I got new handles. This one's fine. You can see that they're done with a keyway cutter now because it just rounds off here rather than just full channel stopping here. Actually, let's do this real quick. Until relatively recently, they used to cut them like this, with a bit that went through here. They had to flip over the handles to get to the channel. Now they use a keyway cutter, so it's rounded off at the end here. And that's more recent. They changed that about halfway through in the 3.5 process, I think somewhere around in 2022, maybe late 21, but, well, I got rehandled red things, new words, new red handles, put them on, it was fine, it worked, still don't like it much, but then I was like, ooh, you know, I could make it match my color scheme, let's get a silver handle, and I don't know if you can actually see it right now. Maybe I need to take a picture or something, but yeah, you can kind of see it. See how the screw doesn't fully sink in? Yeah, it's actually very close to fully tight. If I tighten it much more, it's gonna bind. And, oh, you actually heard it right there. It doesn't matter how I tune it, it will always tap. Bad handle. Terrible QC. Something, blem parts and blem models are not going to affect anything except for cosmetic. The performance is all the same. Well, that's a performance issue. That's something that I can't do a thing about anymore because I don't make the 3.5 handles anymore. You've got some history. I keep it for sentimental reasons. Otherwise, I would have just trashed it because I hate it. And nobody's gonna buy one like that. Alright, next up, another Kraken. This is the Kraken trainer that I purchased myself, actually. I only purchased brand new this one and the other Kraken, but other one was a gift, other one's collectible. I would only have 3 Krakens if not for the gift. But yes, a 4th Kraken. It's a Kraken trainer, 2.5, because I got it before the V3 came out, like literally the week before they came out. I was thinking that I wanted a trainer. I wanted a trainer that had a black blade at least. I had a silver bladed one before that, and that was in my collection for a while until I sold it, because I got the black blade. It's got a glossy handle and a matte handle, because I'm still trying to find a way to find somebody who has the materials to anodize one of these red. But for now, let's just have a red handle. That's fine. I would have just done glossy handles by now if I could, but they obviously don't sell 2.5 handles either anymore. Well, this is in my collection now. I should have waited just another week and then I would have gotten a V3. Whatever. There's nothing special about that, actually. There's not much story there. However, if you want a little bit more story time, let's talk about this Vulp, shall we? So, this came around the same time when I was not quite ready for flipping and I was still collecting, that late 2022 period. And I didn't know who Will Hirsch was for the most part. He just was kind of like there in the background. I watched occasionally a video or two because I liked Balisong still, but wasn't really somebody who I was like actually following actively. But somehow Amazon knew what I wanted. And as creepy as that is, and as much as I hate Amazon, well, they were right. I wanted to find a Balisong, I guess, and I saw this, the Vulp, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And I looked up a video about it because I saw the name Will Hirsch, and I was like, huh, it sounds familiar. Saw the oh, I hit my camera, sorry about that. Anyways, I saw a video on it, saw that it was supposed to be a good thing for people who were learning, and I was like, huh, good, I could use that, and I bought it, and apparently that was the first drop ever of them. Well, at least with the T10 screws. And everything's gone downhill from there, flipping-wise. I have learned so much because of this thing. I love it. Maybe it's not the best thing, because, like, the chaplain, oh, yeah, you see it. You gotta kind of get it going if you really want to chaplain it, but there we go. You can chaplain it. It's just a little bit awkward to get it started at first, but yeah, this is what began my flipping journey. By a mere coincidence of whatever. And now I talk with him. So that's funny. Thank you for getting me into this whole thing where I was only collecting oldies and now I'm collecting this. My poor wallet. Okay. Anyways, that's the story of the Vulp. My Vulp. I love it for sentimental reasons. Shall we move on to the last case? I think we should. Because I'm getting a little bit out of breath for some reason. I think I'm just tired. I've been pausing the recording every once in a while to just yawn, and that's a thing. Oh boy. Ready for more squid stuff? Oh, stuttering. That's a good sign. Ready for more squid stuff anyways? Or you know what? No. We'll go with the squid after this. Speaking of Vulps, this is what prompted me to actually start this video finally. The Vulp Pro. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I keep hitting that thing. Anyways, Vulp Pro. Very, very good. I've had it for a while, actually. I've had it since the very first drop. I was there right before they were actually supposed to drop it, but they had it open for orders about 10 minutes before they actually were officially dropped. And I was there, and I managed to get one of the red ones first day. So I've had it for a while. I really like it, but I wanted to wait until I had white G10. Because now it matches my color scheme, and honestly, I love how this thing looks. It also flips incredibly. Like, maybe not the best ever, but it flips really well for $140, 7075 aluminum, hardened steel blade with a bottle opener. And also G10 inlays. That's really cool. It's channel, so you can't do scales necessarily without having the issues of like a Nautilus, but I really like it. This is cool. It's a cool successor to the Vulp. And it came around my 1 year anniversary of flipping. Maybe a couple months later, but it was a cool little thing in my mind to say, hey, this kind of marks my progress of flipping, where I've gone from the absolute beginner basic Balisong to something that's actually worth trying. I don't want to bother with that, but I gotta. Living in the cold means your fingers are clammy, and that means it's either very sticky to flip or it's very slippery. Yeah, okay, it just wants to stick. My finger wants to stick to the spine of the blade, and then it just flies off because of that. So we're not gonna bother trying to do 0G chaps anymore. Okay, maybe I just suck. Maybe it's just a skill issue. I think it's just a skill issue. Well, doesn't matter because, like I said, I'm not here for the flipping, I'm here for the collecting. Flipping is just a side benefit that I also enjoy. I lost track of what I was talking about, but... Squid stuff again. Last 2 squid things I have that are in my hands right now. I got another Mako. Haha. This one is my favorite for reasons. I'm still saying that this is not teal. It's not teal, it's cyan. It's cyan. Teal is more green than this. This is not green enough to be teal. It's cyan. And pink. It's a good mix of colors. It's like cotton candy. A weakness of mine. I love eating cotton candy. Partially because I can eat a good amount and not get sick because it's not that dense. Although, I have definitely gotten sick eating too much before, so maybe that's not the best example, but I like cotton candy. And the Mako is just that. It's also got a funny engraving on it. I couldn't put accents on it because something Squid doesn't let you do non-English characters. But technically it's pronounced blowhigh. It's the Swedish word for blue shark, you know, from IKEA? And it says 69 of 420. Usually they don't do that. Usually they reject things like that, so that was cool that I was able to get it through. I don't know what that says about Squid, but maybe they changed their policy. But before I tried to do something like that, and they just said no. So, you're my special little Mako that you're going to live in my case forever. Well, not my case, but just in my collection. I mean, you know what I mean. Alright, last Squid product that's in my possession right now. It's a swordfish. It's not focused. There it is. It's also a first production. There it is. 11 of 200. First production swordfish. I have some critiques about this. I like flipping it. I don't hate it. I do kind of enjoy it. It's just... it's a little bit unwieldy. The weight distribution is awkward, so it doesn't necessarily like to just change its momentum on a dime like other things do. You really have to force it to do things sometimes if you're doing lots of fanning and reverse fanning from a normal fan. It's just awkward. They're an awkward knife. And I guess that's why they usually sell for very cheap secondhand. $175 brand new, but they're $90 secondhand. That's fun. And also something interesting about this guy. If it'll focus. There it is. Oh, come on. What do you want from me? There it is. You see the marks on the tang area? You see how they're kind of creeping inwards? Well, this is also secondhand, but when I first got it, focus. When I first got it, the handle gap was kind of like this, where you could kind of slip your finger between them. Well, now it's so thin that I can't, if I keep the handles together, you can't push your finger through at all. So I stopped flipping it because I was worried about the handle gap, and that's just an issue of pinsless. A lot of the people who've been talking about pinsless lately have been talking about how like-on-like material should make it so that it's not going to do that, but it's still soft-on-soft material, and when you hit two stick together, it's still going to dent. So, yeah, that's an interesting choice for Squid again. They make choices. Another Marin. That's a Marin. It's not focusing. This is my Marin. It's the Ketchup 57 Marin. along with 57 Light over there. I got a matching set. I worked really hard to find stock handles for this thing. This thing has gone through a lot in its life, and I mean a lot. It's been sanded, it's been smoothed on the handles, rehandled 3 times, and I've been on a search for stock handles, and I finally got them. You can actually see that on this one, it's got the machine texture still. You have no idea how hard that was to find, but something funny about it still, even after finding the handles, look at the channel there. See how it kind of stops at that second jimping line from the bottom? Turn it over. It goes about oh, focus. There we go. Kind of goes halfway through to the last one. So it has a little bit of an awkward balance. It's not my favorite to flip because of that. It's actually a little bit uncomfortable sometimes because of that. You would be surprised how much just a small change can make everything really awkward in its balance. Next up, 2 more. Serif trainer. I got one because I love the Serif. This thing is still pretty good. It's not the same exact balance as a normal Serif, but oh boy, is it still really good. And I got something on it that I thought was really cool. I got it sunset anodized. You can see it in the channels and on the faces when it's like this. But if you notice, there's something a little bit weird about it that kind of looks bluish. Well, when it was modded, I had it satined on the outside entirely so that we could re-anodize it this midnight blue. I like to call it the sunrise anode because when you kind of twist it from one angle to another, it kind of looks like a transition from a darker night to that sunset kind of look, but it's more like a sunrise. It's a little bit lighter than a sunset. And I like to call it the sunrise for that reason. I love this thing. People also like this thing. When I give it to people to try, they're like, whoa, that's cool. Whether they're flippers or not, if they're a new flipper who's never actually touched a Balisong, so I guess they're just literally beginners, they say that it feels cool. That's it. They don't know the nuances. But when I give it to somebody who actually knows how to flip, and they haven't touched a Serif before, they're like, whoa, that's incredible. Alright, here's the last one, and that's in my hands right now. In my possession. Well, that's also assembled. Yes, I know. I already showed a bunch of Prisma Pros. Well, this isn't just normal Prisma Pro. This is, focus, Dingus. It's the Dingus. It's my Dingus Pro. This is one of the ones that I carry with me everywhere, along with, well, it used to be the Mako, and now it's been the Vulp Pro. But the Dingus is one that I carry with me everywhere because it's a good flipper. It's a good flipper that I can just carry with me everywhere. Oh my god, everything is blurry. Anyways, it's a great flipper that I like to carry with me everywhere for the reason that it's just standard and good for how I like to flip, at least. Love this thing. And thanks again, Dalen, for doing that. It's my Dingus. Alright, so let's move this up a little bit. Let's take a look at all of the knives out on the ottoman right now. I was gonna say table, it's not a table. Anyways, that's my collection. I have 3 things that are not in my hands right now. One of them is another one of the Bermudas. It's kind of disassembled and I can't use it right now because it's got a strip screw in it because they put so much Loctite in it and it's awful to take it apart. So, I've also got my sad tsunami. That's a whole nother story for another time that I will talk about. It's bad. We're in a process of trying to get it fixed right now, and right now it's actually with, as of right now that I'm recording this, it's with Will Hirsch, and yay, it's not in my hands. There's another thing, I don't remember what it is. I know I have 3 that are, oh, I have another Opus. That's somewhere. Don't worry about it. Anyways, I think that's enough talking for now. I'm not used to talking this much, so, oh, I'm out of breath actually, just because I've been talking, I guess. And that's the collection, my collection that's made me spend more money than I probably should have ever. My phone is running out of space. I hope you enjoyed this video of whatever this is.